My name's Juanita. I'm a dietitian and a diabetes educator. I'm here in my kitchen to show you a fast, not fussy type meal. I've adopted a new way of looking at cooking and fixing meals. I call that the fast, the not fussy way of fixing meals. I'm hoping that you will find this both entertaining and also something that you can do in your kitchen to save time and cook on a budget. Let's get started. I have this fabulous recipe and I was inspired because I went into the grocery store and I saw that cabbage was 79 cents a head. And I thought to myself, wow. Now, the only issue with that is I don't normally eat cabbage. I have never fixed cabbage. How can you pass up 79 cents a head for cabbage, even though you've never cooked or made anything with cabbage before in your entire life? So I thought, what the heck, I will do this. I'm always looking for ways to save money. So 79 cents a head, what a deal. So I have made a recipe that is called Cabbage Kale Soup. And again, I want a fast meal, not a fussy one. So this fast meal, basically, if you prep your ingredients up, like for instance, I needed to chop the cabbage up. If I used fresh kale, I would need to chop this up. I'm not going to use fresh kale for this particular dish. What I found in the freezer was frozen kale, so I'm just going to put this into the soup instead of fresh. I also like to save time. Instead of chopping and dicing onions, I use the frozen diced onions that are in the freezer. I could have gotten a blend of onions, celery, and carrots all together in a package, but I chose not to do that. I could have gotten the carrots already sliced and just put those in. But some of the items I went ahead and I chopped them up and I cut them up by hand. So my recipe is the kale, bean, and I'm using lentils, cabbage soup. So first things first, have 8 cups of water. And I did put 3 bay leaves in there. I also use chicken seasoning, so that is in here as well. So instead of buying the broth, which is a little bit more expensive, I have a powder that I just mix in. So this recipe calls for potatoes, and it calls for 1.5 cups of potatoes. So, well, there's my potatoes. It calls for 1 cup of diced onions. Calls for 1/2 cup of diced tomatoes. It calls for 1.5 cups of sliced carrots, and it also calls for 1.5 cups of the cabbage cut up in bite size. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. It calls for 1 cup of celery, 1.5 cups of beans, like I said before, I'm using lentils. It also calls for 4 garlic cloves. So instead of messing with the garlic cloves, what I'm using is the already minced garlic. So I have my frozen chopped kale. That's going to go in. It's 1.5 cups. The other thing that you may notice is that my crock pot has a bib or a plastic liner on it, and that is a nice thing that you can buy in the store And then after your food is all cooked, you don't have to scrub the pot, which I really like. So it keeps things neat and tidy, and it's a fast cleanup. So this meal actually is a fast, not fussy type meal. I'm going to put the crock pot on high for 4 hours, and this should all be ready to eat at that point. So think about making fast, not fussy type meals